Okay, test drive time it is. I'm quite excited about this. I've got like heaps of experience selling Sealines, and specifically the earlier version of this, which was the Sealine C330, of which this is the upgraded newer version. So I've got a lot of experience with how this hull rides, and the whole performance and the engine setup with these twin 220s. But I can already see, and I'm already experiencing a lot of improvements. The first thing is, this one is fitted with the twin 220 Volvos. So this boat is optionable as the V version with outboards. We currently have the twin 220 Volvos, so they are inboards, and you can also get a single 400 horsepower, so a single duoprop 400 horsepower, of which there is one in the country. Although I don't think that's going to be all that popular for our demographic, because you're going to have hopeless resale with a single engine boat of a style like this. So what am I seeing? I'm seeing an all new dash. It appears to be raised, and the visibility of the instruments is improved compared to the earlier one, but they've managed to do it in such a way that I don't have any hindrance. I'm not experiencing any hindrance to my visibility. So I don't know how they did that, but it's good. It's a very clean dash. It's much cleaner than the earlier one. We've got a drink holder. Thank you. That was one of my early complaints on the earlier model. So we have a drink holder. We have this beautiful big clean dash, and I've got a single screen, but there is clearly space for dual screens if you wanted. So we've got the single screen Raymarine. I've got the engine diagnostics running through this one, but you can clearly do chart plotter, radar, all the other bits and pieces. And it's good to see it's got the buttons on one side, because some of these touch screens can be a little bit funny to use when you're bouncing around on a powerboat. I've got the Volvo engine diagnostics displays either side. I've got the joystick parking, which is just forward of my throttle arm, so throttle, joystick. There is a bit of a design to make the throttle slightly more ergonomic, which is good to see. It's not set back, which I often like to see on many boats, but I see why they haven't done that, because that would hinder your exit out of this wonderful opening door, and it is actually benefit to have it in that place when you're parking, because you do this sort of thing and it's just in the perfect space for that. So that makes sense. Joystick, and then the bow thruster. It's the push button operation bow thruster. They take a little bit of getting used to, but that's not impossible. And then your traditional trim tabs just inboard of that. All my boat systems, which are nice, easily and well laid out in the middle. My Volvo start stop, fire suppression, and this one's got an autopilot. That's cool to see. Plus a VHF just here. And ergonomically, new seat. This is nice. This is like some material. I have no idea what this is called, but it's quite comfortable. I feel the seat feels wider than the earlier one. It's more comfortable. It's got an armrest, so you really could enjoy the ride at slow speeds. I'm going to close this because I don't want the wind to annoy the audio. You could really enjoy yourself just kicking back like this. Transitioning from seated to standing. Well, I've got the sunroof closed, but actually, you might do this if you're in a parking scenario and you wanted to, just increase your visibility somewhat, although I don't see it's hugely necessary. This is very much a boat I feel like I would just sit down and drive. So that's that. Steering wheel is adjustable. It's going to make sense. Is the seat itself adjustable, fixed? So it's just the up and down. So yeah, it's fine. That's fine. Like, if you were a really tall guy, your legs are going to be up a little bit more like that. But you know, it's a 33-foot boat. What can we ask for? How much do you want to fit in a 33-foot space? So I think it's time to try out the speed of this baby. As I said, twin 220 horsepower. I've got a full tank of fuel. We've got trim tabs and adjustable stern drives. So I've got the stern drives in the down position. I'm actually, because of this style of boat that this is, I'm actually going to just do a quarter trim tab down and just see how that behaves. I got my engine revs just here. I got my SOG just here. So I'll talk to you about what I experienced. Sitting on 4 knots at the moment. We were just at 1300 revs and not making any wash, as you'd expect. So 1300 revs, and the speed's just got up to 6.5 knots. But that's still not offensive. That's perfectly doable at 6.5 knots in a no wash zone. And we'll just bump that up a bit to 1400 and just see what happens. So I've got the drives all the way down. I've got a quarter of trim tab down, making small waves, but again, that's not really going to offend anyone. One thing that if you're used to, or not used to, a sports cruiser style of boat, you do a moderate amount of steering, because you know we don't have a keel or anything under the boat like some cruisers would, so it's going to want to go where you steer it. I guess the hint's in the name, sports cruiser, it wants to go fast, so it's inherently more stable when it's up on the plane. So at slower speeds you will find yourself just doing little minute improvements on the steering. It is power assisted steering, so it's literally finger touch, but that's how you keep it on the straight and true, hence why they've got an autopilot. If you want to be lazy, you can do that too. 1400 knots, no waves to speak of. We'll bring it up to 1500. Okay, I can hear the engine starting to work there. Actually, that's more like 1550. So I'm starting to make a wave. My first wave's starting to break. Second wave's not too bad. And I'll just see where the sort of cutoff zone is. That's 7.5 knots SOG. We'll just bring it up to 1650. And what the hell, let's just go to 17. Okay, 1700. 1700 revs. That's given us just under 8 knots, 7.9 knots, and yeah, it's moderately offensive. You're not really going to piss too many people off at this speed, to be honest. Like, that's, I guess, classified as making wash, and if I roll it through 1850, I can hear those engines starting to spool up now. 1850, yeah, okay, that's offensive. So that's our call to get on the plane. All clear apart from my camera boat right on my starboard side. We'll just commit to it. Now on a boat like this, you really do just commit to it. So I'm just giving it power, letting the boat do its thing. So now we're up and moving. I let it settle, and now I come back on that power. So I went up to almost 4,000 revs there, and I'm going to just give it a little bit more bow down until I just get used to this boat. I'm heavy today because I'm full fuel tanks. And yeah, okay, so give it a little bit of engine trim up. I'm getting 22 knots SOG. And I'm at 3,500 revs. It's very much a cruising speed. Just going through some boat wash here. Choppity chop chop. That's fine, that's not going to offend anyone. I'm just going to give it a little bit more bow down. I just want to play with the trim just to see how the boat responds. So that's just, yeah, so I've just gone full trim tabs, and I can see the revs have almost increased. Oh no, that's marginal. That's not really worth mentioning. But that's a lot more comfortable, and it's worth noting, we are rolling out into exposed water. I'm going from inshore. We're in beautiful Pittwater today. I never get sick of this place. And we've got some swell rolling in, so it's not completely flat. And I'm gonna just dart the boat out to sea, go across the open water, and then come back. Might just chuck a loop around the island there somewhere, and then we'll find somewhere cool for lunch to give you a walk through. But this is what you do on a boat like this. This is your weekender. That's why people get boats like this, so they don't have to go wasting time driving to their holiday house 2 and 3 hours. And let's face it, in Australia, that hasn't been possible in the last year and a half because they keep bloody locking us down. So a boat is a much better option than that. I want to give it some more speed. Yeah, this is comfy. So I've just rolled it through 3,600 revs. I've got no desire to stand up here. The boat is comfortable. Noise levels are acceptable. Oh, a couple of things I didn't mention before. I'll just do this while we beat up through some of these waves. Have Volvo changed the gearbox? Because it's way quieter than the earlier model. I've driven 20 or 25 of these boats before in the past, so I know what they behave like. in and out of gear at idle, this thing it's virtually silent. They did not used to be like that. So yeah, if anyone knows, anyone from Volvo, maybe leave a comment in the description below. I have no idea, but something's different because it's way quieter, and even the engine noise at idle and slow speeds, it's noticeably quieter. Up here at the plane, I'm not really noticing anything. Maybe some of the boffins can tell me if that's true or not, but definitely at the slower and moderate speeds, it's quieter. Shifting in and out of gear is like 10 times smoother. So that's just an interesting observation. Here we go, going through some ocean waves. Woo! Dry, no water over the bow. Got some got some spray coming out to the side. These are short and sharp. I'm deliberately doing this, just hugging the shore here, just because I want to see how this thing's going to react. These are just 1 meter little rolling surf waves, but not breaking or anything. And I'm doing that at 24 knots. And straight over this one, probably about the limit of like your average boater's comfort level, I reckon, because if you didn't warn someone of that, they might lose their breakfast with all the vertical movement. But did you hear any slamming? The boat, the hull, it's liking this. It's eating it up. That is because of the hull profile. And let's just go side on to these waves, and I will talk to you about it. Oh, you know what? If there's any Pittwater people watching this video, why do I always see hammerhead sharks in between Barrenjoey and Lion Island? Can some fishermen tell me what the hell is going on there? So I have no idea, but I constantly, whenever I'm crossing here, I see hammerhead sharks in my wake. I am definitely not going to come for a swim out here. Not that you would. Anyway, the whole profile. Bill Dixon Design, got a lot of super yacht experience sailing boats. They know what they're on about. They like to build a slippery boat, and they have achieved it with this hull. It's not a new hull design. It's a tried and tested hull design. And now I'm just going to adjust and go down the waves. What they have done has created a bit of a vertical stem bow, similar to what you see on sailing yachts, and that allows them to bring more accommodation up into the front of the boat and give you more layout. But in terms of the performance and the ride, we have more cutting action at the front. So instead of having a flared bow, when we hit a wave, the bow has less of a tendency to want to lift. So we're in swell, you know, these are ocean swell waves just rolling in through here, and I haven't had to get off my seat, and I'm maintaining 22, 23 knots in what is quite a comfortable scenario. I'm just going to duck around the island, have a little squiz. So what's happening below the waterline is that when I hit these waves, the cutting action of the bow is parting the waves quite cleanly, and it's giving me less lifting action. So the engines and the hull, it is staying, it's remaining connected to the ocean more than a flared bow. So you have less of that slamming and more ability to tackle rougher water with relative ease. You know, it's not the sort of boat you drive to New Zealand, let's face it, but it's a day boat, it's a weekender, it's a holiday boat, and so it's not trying to be that. So I'm just going to give it some juice. We'll do it out here in these waves. So I'm just rolling that up 3,900 revs, 24, 25 knots. Yeah, she's doing it. We'll just tuck in around the island here. This is totally doable. You know, I'm in ocean conditions, 25 now, 26 knots. I'm not at full throttle yet. I might actually raise those trim tabs somewhat now that I'm just see what we can get this thing up to, even though it's not flat water. Let's go full revs. So that's 4,100. A little bit more of a trim on the drive there. I'm getting 29.5 knots. 29.5 knots through waves. I've got a quarter of my trim tab down at the moment, and I'm just going to totally raise them now in the lee of the island and see what happens. Yeah, I'm pushing 30 knots. So 30 knots, there we go, just hit it. So in flat water, this thing is a plus 30 knot boat. You will probably get, when these engines are running, you will probably get up to 35 knots in the right conditions. But what that's saying to me is load the boat up with your friends, load the boat up with gear, and go away for the weekend, which is what it's designed to do. Geez, this is beautiful. I love doing this job. How good's this? What's going on out here? Everyone's having a fish today. He's having a sail. So what I might do, I might just chuck a Yui here. We'll go around this yachty. No, we won't. We'll do one now. We'll just chuck a Yui here. There's someone. No, I got a fishing net in the water that way, so I'm going to go this way. I will go now. Okay, we'll go around the crab pots fishing net, I think. We'll stay clear of that. And I'm getting hungry. I think we need to go to Pittwater. So, anything, I'm talking to the Aussies here, I'm talking to the Sydney people specifically. If you hadn't heard of the Boathouse Restaurant Group, well, you need to. These guys are just taking over the waterfront operation around Sydney and here on the Central Coast, and they are suited, hence the name, Boathouse Group. They are very well suited for boats. So I'm just going to hook around the corner here and go to Pittwater. This is the sort of destination you would really happily go to on a boat like this. A day like today, why bother cooking? Yes, you can on a boat like this, but if you've got a big group of friends and you can't be bothered and you want to enjoy your time, maybe you would just pull into one of their restaurants, pull your boat up, grab a seafood platter, enjoy the day with your mates, and then keep the food that you have on board for when it's just you and your partner for the evening, or you and your kids. Like, I think that's a good way to manage your time, and really, what are we doing this for? It's all about enjoying ourselves. So maximum enjoyment should be minimal fuss. And like what I'm experiencing right now on this boat, this is minimal fuss. I've not wanted to sit up. I've got good visibility. If you've seen any of my videos before, you know I'm a short ass. I'm 5'7" if I'm lucky on a good day. You know, I've been doing chin-ups and hanging off the bar. So I often, on some boats, can't see very well. But this one, it's fine. I must say I did remove the backrest of that seat for the drive. If I had the backrest in place, that would hinder my visibility. But I feel like that's something you're only going to put out at lunch anyway. And these speeds, you know, it's 22 knot cruising speed, 8 knot off the plane speed. And let's just give it one more blast, 30 knots plus top speed, depending on your trim and load. And let's just talk about a fast cruise. Probably a 26 knot fast cruise. I'll just do some turns before we get in there. So these big windows, these floor to ceiling windows, provide me with adequate visibility when I'm turning. Because a lot of these roof cabin style boats, when you hook it into a turn like I am now, the roof goes below the horizon and you can't see. But on this one, I've got all glass and then sunroof just here, which is giving me fantastic visibility. So from a safety and operational perspective, it's great. I don't think they designed it for that reason. I think that was more about just pure pleasure and having the ability to look out and enjoy. I'm getting hot. I think this thing does have aircon, but I haven't turned it on. So, yeah, not far now. Oh, I'll tell you what, I reckon I've got some calamari in my future. So let's go in here and I'll slow the boat down and I'll give you a wrap up on my performance. And what I might actually do, I'll just do some slow speed maneuvering, because a lot of you are going to be operating a boat like this short-handed, and it's absolutely a boat that can do that. I know from previous experience, how maneuverable these things are at slow speed. So with a bit of training, you could do it in the traditional method very, very easily and literally park this thing, anchor this thing, and entertain this thing solo. And if you want to avoid the training, you could just option it up with the joystick, and you have another option to do all of those maneuvers without having to add a great deal of thinking into the process. So yeah, we'll just go find some of that shallow water over there, and we will give you a demo. So coming off the plane on this boat, we do have a large swim platform on the back. So like any boat with a big swim platform, you really just want to dissipate that energy gently. So I come off the power, so I was at 3,500 there, down to 2.8, and I just sit there for a little bit. Now I'll just come down to 2.5, 2.4, 2.4, and I'm just going to watch that wave behind me catch up, and then I'll slowly bring it down again, and I'm just sort of trying to dissipate that energy without allowing that big sort of breaking wave behind me to roll up and come on board, which it's not. There is a small step which is going to catch it, but if you did that aggressively, you would be sending salt water into that aft cockpit. There's drains, so it will never come into the main cockpit, but you just want to kind of avoid that. You look a little bit amateurish if you're driving a boat like that, so it's kind of best not to. Yeah, we'll just go into the dock here and just have a little squiz around. Some easterly breeze, good day for an anchor or picking up a mooring, but I'll pull up alongside the dock. I'm not going to actually secure the boat, but I will just pull into the dock and talk to you about what I'm capable of achieving on a boat like this. And there's a couple of things. Cabin boat, side opening door makes all the difference. Yeah, picture this. Your family, your friends, you're all having a good time, you've just maybe had a few wines, everyone's enjoying the day. They're not necessarily going to be very useful. So you want a layout that is going to be sensible enough for your friends to get out of your way. So seats like this and like that puts you in a position so you can seat all your friends, and then you can have free access to the aft deck. But on a boat like this, you don't need to worry about that, because you can get to the side decks and then you have clear access forward and aft. So that makes all the difference. If you can do that and have clear side access, you can sort of just get your friends to shut up a bit, and essentially they can enjoy themselves whilst you have to do what you've got to do. So in a simulation, just say I was pulling into this dock, I got a few options here. So I got the bow thruster, and I can do what's called a side slip, because we have drives. I can put the drives onto one angle, I can spin the thing around on the spot, so I'll do that just now. I'm just going to go one forward, one reverse, and we've got some waves. That's just our swell left over, and look at this. Quite comfortably, we've got more than enough. This is just called transverse thrust. We have more than enough with the drive centered power to achieve a full turn on the spot, so that's great. And then you can use a combination of steering and throttle with your bow thruster to bring the thing up and alongside the dock. So I will do that in the traditional method first, and then I will do it with the joystick to give you a bit of a demo. This is not calm water. You can see the boat rocking around. We do have waves coming in. So got my bow thruster on. I always do a bow thruster test before I go up against the dock. Okay, so that's operational. So what I can do It's really easy to hook the wheels around with this power steering. So just doing a simulation, and I'm just going to come into the dock here. And my camera boat is getting totally in the way there. Okay. All right. So if I was coming into the dock here, I can actually do a combination of drives over, which is what I'll do now, and then bow thruster. Okay, so I'm not going to touch the dock, but you get the idea that I'm able to walk the boat in towards the dock, and then to exit, I just do forward and thrust away. And then I'm able to use my good old transverse thrust, get the stern clear, and back the boat away from any danger. So that's one option. And then if I want to use the drive, the joystick I should say, because this does take a little bit of getting used to. You need to have a clear understanding of your throttle control, forward, reverse, your drive direction, left, right, and getting the combination of the two does take a bit of practice. That's not something that comes overnight. And then combining that skill set with reaching over with the appropriate hand to the bow thruster, there's a bit going on. So, thank you Volvo, we have a solution. Low speed, high speed, on, off joystick. So now, without having to worry about which hand should do what and what needs to go where, if you've played Xbox or any video game, you will be able to understand how to operate this system. So now, if I want to go back, I just go back on the joystick. If I want to turn the boat, I just swivel the joystick. So I'm just reversing and swiveling. This is doing all the traditional throttle movement for me. If I want to go forward, I just go forward, like so. And then if I want to do a 360 on the spot, essentially what I do, I twist this joystick. It's now doing the thinking for me, and see this? I'm just doing a complete 360. What we did before is now all the computation that had to go on in my head is being done by the joystick. But let's just throw in another scenario. Okay, you're doing a nice little turn, but the only consistent thing is change. The wind, the waves, the tide is starting to slew the boat sideways. No worries, Volvo's got a solution for that. You just side slip the thing, so you can actually lean the joystick. So I'm going to do this, I'll do it into the wind. I've pressed high mode just to give me some more power, so I'll just stop the movement, and I will slide the joystick to one side. And this is a great piece of technology to walk the boat sideways. You've got to get used to all the noise and vibrations, because it is a little bit unnerving, because the drives will move as they see fit. They'll move in their own way. They're not going to be going in the direction you tell them to. I don't know if that makes sense. Like if you're operating with the throttles, you're doing all the control with throttles and the wheel as to which direction the drives face. If you're doing the joystick, it's doing the control for you. So it will decide what drive needs to face what direction and how much thrust, forward, reverse, whatever, to complete that turn. All you need to do is worry about moving the joystick. So, you know what? If it saves arguments on a Saturday afternoon, if it lowers the heart rate and means you get what you're looking for out of a boat, which is enjoyment and relaxation, spend the money. Do it. Anyway, what's my wrap up on the performance of the Sealine C335? I'm getting confused. This is the third boat I've been on this week. Sorry. Sealine 335. It's as expected. I know it's a good hull. It performs really well inshore and offshore. It punches above its weight. And my main takeaways from this. The performance numbers were as I expected, about 23 knots cruising speed, 30 knots top speed, fast cruise 26 knots. Low fuel burn on these diesel motors. You don't have petrol inboard options, but you do have the outboards. So as expected, it's still a great hull. My main new things that I've noticed is the quietness. I have no idea why it's quieter. I'll find out. I'm about to do the walkthrough. And the going in gear and out of gear, see that? It's much smoother. It's much smoother. So your enjoyment levels at slow speed and parking and that style of operation, it's just going to be more. It's just going to be more. So yeah, hopefully that was beneficial. By the way, if you're liking this sort of content, I hate it when people ask for likes and follows and all that jazz. I just think it's a bit fake. But I think I have to do it because I'm trying to grow the channel. I'm trying to bring a little bit of value to you guys. I just fund this thing myself with my brokerage business, and I'm just having fun doing it. If you're enjoying it, give us a like, give us a follow, leave me a comment. I'm loving all the communication I'm getting from you guys. Keep it up. Where this goes, nobody knows. I don't really have a plan. I'm enjoying it. I hope you do too. My name's Dan Jones. This has been Dan's Boat Life. I shall see you on the next one.
You got what I need, sipping on the potion, all that good emotion, just my kind of heat, keep it on repeat, testify the motion, loving this devotion. Live it up, sweet emotion. Every time, every night, you and I on a roll. Switch it up where I'm going. Stay on the fly just in time.